Hi, this is Uncle Matt's D&D Studio. I'm Matt Finch, and with me I have James Raggi, who is famous for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. And so go ahead, James, introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm James Edward Raggi IV. I'm the publisher for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. We've been going since 2009. We do stuff that's old school in rules and just weird in attitude, and I've just produced, I think, almost 50 things in the past 7 years. So, yeah.
Okay,
And we
let's punch in a little bit deeper to what you said about old school and weird, because going back to the history of what you were doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but around 2009, you published the rule set for Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and that was a vast departure from sort of mainstream fantasy that a lot of people were doing at that time, and also it had probably to a lesser degree rules tweaks that were based on the basic original D&D and a little bit of swords and wizardry, but basically going back to the very roots of the rule system. But you didn't change a whole lot. You just took you made the tweaks that made your system match up with the sort of thematic and atmospheric elements of Lamentations. Is that correct?
Yeah, the company started in 2009 with adventures. It was 2010 that the first edition of the rules came out, and I think what you're talking about is the 2011 version, the Grindhouse one that introduced really the really wild artwork and some of the bigger rules changes from the. But yeah, I'm a bit iffy myself because it's been so long of what rules were introduced in that first edition and which ones were then introduced the next year. So
yeah, I think there was a sort of a development there, you know, as the weird fantasy element drew more and more. I think that's when you continued making sure that the rules matched with that. So now in terms of that great big sideways tack that you made from mainstream fantasy into the areas that you do, give me the sort of rundown on the approach, the themes, the feeling, the ambiance, all of that in terms of Lamentations and your adventure series, because I think that's where your company really stands out. That and product quality, which I'll get to, physical quality and production values. But talk about where the whole thing goes.
Well, I like old school Dungeons and Dragons. It is what I think of naturally when I think of role playing and rules and process of play and all of that stuff. So I didn't want to abandon that, but I didn't. I wanted to do this. I wanted Lamentations to be a full-time business and to be a player in the industry. I wanted to stand up next to Wizards of the Coast, next to Paizo, which had already started being a big deal at that time. And to do that, I didn't think I'd be successful doing just your normal Dungeons and Dragons fantasy, because that's really not where my heart was, and that I don't think would stand out in the marketplace, being a small fry doing the same basic things that a million other people were doing. And I love heavy metal. I love just bizarre horror movies. So I thought, okay, let's really emphasize that and throw that in, because almost nobody else is doing that in this space. And it seems to have worked.
Now, heavy metal and horror, those are definitely really characteristic of Lamentations. And like you said on heavy metal, because you edited a heavy metal magazine before you did this.
Yeah, it was also called Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Started in 1998. The last one came out in 2005.
Mm-hmm. And then, okay, Flame Princess. You're in Finland.
Yes.
And you ended up there as a result of a sequence of events and desires.
Well, yeah. I decided in 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, that I didn't like living in Atlanta anymore. I'd grown up outside New York City, and there was snow every winter. There was snow. Moved to Atlanta. There's snow once every 10 years, and it's called the storm of the century, and they just shut the whole city down because of this much snow. And it was just stupid. And the summers were miserable. So I thought, okay, I got to go somewhere where there's snow. I could have planned to just move back north, but I am stupid. So I decided, okay, what's the best way to get what I want? Okay, I'm going to get online. I'm going to chat with women from Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And that'll be my ticket to Northern Europe. And that worked. It's just like, I like telling that story because it's weird and amazing and different. Who has a story like that where they intentionally... But then I know it also makes me sound a bit like a creep, but...
and possibly more so because you went to Finland pursuing a particular redhead and ended up
No.
No?
That's
the story I heard. That's what's
okay. Now there was a redhead that was involved with the whole conception of the Flame Princess, but that person had nothing to do with my actually coming to Finland. I mean, I could have just as easily ended up in Sweden or Norway if some girl there had cared enough. So
all right,
that
moving on. I got a question about Finland. Okay, very important question here.
Oh God. Mm-hmm.
Leviatar or Loviatar, the Maiden of Pain. How do you pronounce that? She's a Finnish goddess, you should know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I discuss that's the Kalevala stuff, right?
Yeah. How can you not have pursued that on day one? Nobody knows how to pronounce it. The picture offer from the deities and demigods or whatever it was something everybody paid a whole lot of attention to. Yeah. I can't believe you didn't go there and just ask the customs guy when you were on your way in.
Oh, the customs guy was correcting the pronunciation of the city I was going to. Oh, where are you going? Vasa.
So you had bigger problems pronunciation-wise than
Loviatar, yeah, it doesn't even sound like a Finnish name, really.
Okay, you don't know. Yeah. You don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, speculation is no good on this. Everyone can speculate. All right, so talk more about now. Okay, so we're talking about production quality on your books, because I think the books coming out of your company are probably the highest production value in the entire industry. I mean, you've got bindings that are the same quality as Frog Gods, which is basically the most important, the most expensive you can get. But then in your case, for example, Red and Pleasant Land, which riffs off Alice in Wonderland, has a cloth cover. It has gold foil around the outside of the cover. It also has an impressed color picture in the middle of it, so it looks exactly like a children's book. Only, of course, what's inside of it is nothing like a children's book. But that was a lot of money put into the production on that. So talk about production value.
Yeah, production values. Well, I do what I can, because when I started with Death Frost Doom, after I became an actual company in 2009, I think I was still using an inkjet printer. I don't even think I'd upgraded to laser, but every time there was an order, I'd print out the pages on my printer and do the folding and the trimming and the stapling for the booklet by hand. And that lasted less than a month because there were just too many. And then we started going to the local copy shop to make the booklets. And then it was, it was 2011 when I did the Grindhouse edition of the rules. And Vornheim is the first time we went to a serious, real offset printer. And that was selected by which printing place had an office closest to where I live, just so they'd be easy to go talk to. And they've been in business since 1895, I think it is. And yeah, just lucked out that they do really good work.